Now, welcome to another important session. So, in this session, I will cover some of the important PYQs that were there in the combined Geo-Scientist Prelim 2024 and the Engineering Services Exam Prelim 2024. Now, these PYQs are important. You might think that the PYQs from this exam are not important, but it is not the case. The PYQs from this exam will be important, and these PYQs will provide us with a important window through which we can look for the pattern that might appear in the UPSC 2024. Right. So let us begin by covering some of the important PYQs that were there. Right. So the first PYQs is that which of the following statement regarding the Galapagos Island in the Pacific Ocean is correct? Number one statement is, are they formed due to the volcanic activity? Right, this statement is correct. They are formed due to the volcanic activity. They're part of the South American nation Peru. Now, the Galapagos Island is a part of the Ecuador. So statement second is incorrect. The answer to this question is one, only one. That this statement is correct. Now, some important information about the Galapagos Island is that it is a hotbed of the species and the species diversity. You might know that the famous evolutionary scientists such as Charles Darwin, he formulated his theory right here in the Galapagos Island. So from that perspective, Galapagos Island is very important, and there is one important study recently conducted that the coral reef system around the Galapagos Island is intact and very much healthy, and it is very contrasting thing to have happened because the coral reef across the world is bleaching. But there is one important reason why the coral reef system around the Galapagos Island is intact, because it is fed by the cold Peruvian current, and because of that the ocean warming effect is not happening here, and because of that the reef system here is very much intact. So remember this fact. Now the next important question is, the Aral Sea in the Central Asia is situated along the which of the following countries? Now this is the Aral Sea, and as I discussed earlier, the UPSC is very much fond of asking about the lakes, right? The lakes that are very drying very fast. So you must be knowing some of the important lakes that are drying due to environmental concerns, due to anthropogenic concern, right? Some of those lakes are Lake Urmia in Iran. You might know about this Lake Urmia, that people near Lake Urmia are protesting about the conservation efforts to save the Lake Urmia. And Lake Chad in the Africa, which was bordered by the Cameroon, Niger and the Nigeria, right? So these are the important lakes that are drying very fast. And about the Aral Sea, it has dried almost 80%, right? From that perspective, Aral Sea become important, and Aral Sea is fed by the two important rivers, that is river Amu Darya and the river Sir Darya. Now the governments in the Uzbekistan and the Kazakhstan are building a lot of dams over this river, and because of that the water coming to Aral Sea has been obstructed, and because of the area occupied by the Aral Sea is shrinking very fast. So this was about the Aral Sea. Now answer to the question is that Aral Sea is bordered by the Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So remember this fact. Third important question is that ancient city of Taxila is situated in the which one of the following the provinces of the Pakistan? Now answer to the question is Punjab. So this is the Taxila, and this is the Punjab province of the Pakistan. Now they might ask about the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, because these are also one of the important cities right from the important ancient sites. Now Harappa is located in the Punjab province of the Pakistan in the Sahiwal district, and the Mohenjo-daro is located in the Sindh provinces of the Pakistan. So you have to remember these two important facts. Now the next important question is, match the following list. List number one talks about some scientists like Lamarck, Lyell, Malthus and Wallace. Now if you know about the Malthus, he talks about the demographic theory, where he talks about that human population will grow in the geometric proportion, right? And the resource growth, right? The resource growth will be in the algebraic progression. So the future for the humanity is a disaster, because human population will outgrow the resources. So that was the theory given by the Malthus. So for the statement number 3, the correct answer is statement for the Malthus. The correct option is 3. So where is this? So we have to choose among these, right? If you do not know any of the other scientists, you can choose any of these two statements. Now let us see Lamarck. Now what does Lamarck talk about? Lamarck talk about inheritance of the acquired characteristic. What is this theory about? This theory talks about the physical changes, right? This theory talks about the physical changes that occur during the lifespan of animal, and these physical changes will be inherited in the form of and the important example is that human doesn't have tail, right? We people don't have tail because we did not use tail, right? For that purpose it becomes liability. The organ becomes liability for the human physiology, and hence we in the evolutionary changes we dropped the tail from our body, right? So this can be example of inheritance by acquired characteristic. The Lyell talks about the gradual geological processes that have gradually shaped the Earth's surface, and the Wallace talks about the evolutionary theory of natural selection. Now you can learn about this theory in detail in some of my other videos. The Wallace theory talks about the variation, inheritance, competition, and the survival of the fittest. So the correct answer to this question is 4231. Now the next important question is, which one of the following statement is not correct regarding the carbon dioxide? The first statement is carbon dioxide is given off when the dead organism and the other organic material decomposes. This is correct. Whenever the organism decomposes, which is a carbon based life, right? It is a carbon based life. So it is natural that when these organisms decompose, they will release CO2 in the atmosphere. The second statement is, when the volcanoes erupt, they give off the carbon dioxide that is stored in the mantle. Now mantle is one of the biggest reservoir of the carbon in the various form, right? So definitely when the volcanoes erupt, it gives off a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So second statement is also correct. Third statement is, ocean water releases dissolved carbon dioxide into the atmosphere when the water temperature rises. We know this fact very much, right? Rising temperature is affecting the carbon capture capacity of the ocean, right? So this statement is also correct. Now the good amount of carbon in the atmosphere is present in the methane. This is not correct because good amount of carbon dioxide or carbon is stored in the atmosphere in the form of CO2, right? So this statement is not correct, but from the perspective of this question, this statement is correct, right? Now the next important question is, the expression of the ability of surface to reflect the sunlight is known as the albedo effect, right? The albedo effect talks about how much of the incoming solar energy is reflected back into the atmosphere, right? And what is the Earth's albedo? It is 31%, meaning that around 31% of the incoming solar radiation is reflected back into the atmosphere, right? So this is not a greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect, what does it talk about? It talks about that incoming solar radiation is a short wave solar radiation, right? Short wave solar radiation, but when the short wave solar radiation is reflected back from Earth's surface, it becomes long wave solar radiation, and this long wave solar radiation is trapped into Earth's atmosphere because of the CO2 and other greenhouse gases, and it causes greenhouse gas effect. Tension effect is not very important, forget about this. Permafrost is also not important from this point of this question, right? The next important question is, ethanol is primarily produced from the corn and sugar cane. This statement is correct, and these statements are about ethanol. So first statement is correct. Ethanol is primarily produced from the corn and the sugar cane. It is a food based derivative, right? The next important next is a ethanol provides a major part of the liquid fuel requirement in the Brazil. This is also correct. The statement 1 and statement 2 correct. The production of ethanol accounts around the 90% of the production of the biofuels. Now this statement is not correct, as ethanol contributes around 70% of the global biofuels production. So it's not 90%, but around 90%, around 70 50% of the global biofuels are ethanol based, and around 30% biofuels are other form of biofuels such as biodiesel. So barring option number 3, if you cancel that 3 3 3, option number D 1 and 2 correct. Now next important question is, which of the following statement is not correct regarding the thermal mass? Now thermal mass is ability of the mass to store solar energy or solar heat. So which of the following statement is not correct? So in solar building, it reduces the temperature variation between the day and night. So this is correct, because the thermal mass has the ability to store the heat from the sun, right? So definitely during the daytime it will store the heat, and in the night time it will release the heat. So it will reduce the temperature variation between the day and night. It is useful in the ordinary building as it serves as a reservoir or sink for both the heating and cooling. This is also correct. It provides a means of storing the solar energy that enters through the windows. This is also correct. The heavier a material is available, then less the thermal mass. Now this is not correct, because a high density material that is heavier material will store more heat by volume. So this statement is not correct. Now the next is about the Hemis festival. The Hemis festival is a festival of Ladakh, and it is celebrated as a birth anniversary of Lord Padmasambhava, a Buddhist deity, right? And Hemis festival offers mesmerizing experience of Tibet Tantric Buddhism. Now Tibetan Tantric Buddhism is a part of Mahayana Buddhism, right? So remember this fact about the Hemis festival. Nothing new in this question. Now next important question is, India's goods and services tax collection for the month of June 2023 reached 1.6 trillion according to the Ministry of Finance. Now this is a fact based question, and this fact, if you do not know, better leave such kind of question, because this is a fact based question. But for the purpose of our analysis, this statement is correct. Now India received highest ever FDI of around US $83.57 billion in 2021. This is also correct. The net direct tax collection. Now statement number 3 is, next net direct tax collection in the fiscal year witnessed significant growth of 16%. This is not correct. It experienced the growth of 19.88%, which is around, and it gathered around 18 lakh crores of rupees in the tax collection. So barring the statement number 3, other two statements are correct. So 1 and 2 is correct. Now what is VCIP? It is a video based customer identification process which is used in the banking sector for the verification of the person in order to open the saving account or other banking process. So it is a video based customer identification process. Now the next is, nitrogen cycle is one of the most important microorganism mediated chemical reaction in aquatic and soil environment. In this context, consider which of the following statement is correct. Now the nitrogen fixation is the process of oxidizing NH3 to NO3. So this statement, now the nitrogen fixation is the process of oxidizing NH3 to NO. This is not correct. Nitrogen fixation start with the molecular nitrogen, right? It is not from the NH3 to, it is called as a nitrification. That is process of oxidizing NH3 to NO3 is a nitrification. So it is a not correct. So statement 1 is not. A nitrification process causes a reduction of the NO3 and NO3 into NO2. So this is also not correct. It is a reduction of NO2 into NO3. That is a nitrification. Now the denitrification converts molecular nitrogen into fixed form of organic nitrogen. It is rather opposite. It converts organic nitrogen into N2. So none of the above statement is correct. So as per the Constitution of India, which one of the following statement is correct? The Comptroller and Auditor General of India is appointed by the President and remains in the office during the pleasure of the President of India. This is not correct. Right? Office of the CAG is not at the pleasure of the President of the Office, President of India. Administrative expenses of the Office of the CAG are charged upon the Contingency Fund of India. It is not upon the Contingency Fund of India, but Consolidated Fund of India, right? Consolidated Fund of India. So statement 2 is also not correct. The reports of CAG relating to accounts of the Union and State are submitted to the President of India. Now CAG reports related to the accounts of state are presented or submitted to the Governor, not President of India. So this is also not correct. The President of India shall cause the report of the CAG relating to the accounts of the Union to be laid before the Parliament. Now, so this is a correct. Now the next important question is about the tropical savannas. Tropical savanna biome is a tropical grassland with a scattered drought resistant trees. This is correct. Tropical savanna is famous for tall grass, right? Now these grasses are not very nutritious when we compare with the subtropical grasslands or temperate grasslands such as steppes, which are short grasses. The temperate deciduous forest is a high altitude region in the Himalayas. Now temperate deciduous forest is a mid altitude region, not high altitude. It is a mid altitude region. What is there in the high altitude? In the high altitude you will find the alpine forest. So statement 2 is not correct. If you remove the 2, 1, 3 and 4 correct. The tundra biome is found to be in polar region, characterized by the absence of trees, dwarf plants, wet and spongy, right? Now the CFC. The question is about the CFC. The CFC remains inert in the troposphere but slowly diffuse into the stratosphere. So this statement is correct because CFC will remain inert in the troposphere, but it will slowly diffuse in the stratosphere. In the stratosphere, what happens in the stratosphere? It reacts with the UV lights and it creates a free chlorine radical. Now these free chlorine radicals, right, will react with the O3 to form oxygen molecule, right, and ClO, chlorine monoxide, right? So this is, so statement 2 is correct. Each chlorine monoxide can initiate series of chemical reaction leading to the destruction of ozone layer, and this is also correct. And that's why the CFC is causing damage to the ozone layer, which is so all the statements are correct. We have seen this, right? Now the next important question is about the chaparral. Now you might not have heard about the chaparral, but the chaparral is a shrub forest dominated by the densely growing evergreen shrubs. So you can find the chaparral in the USA. I do not recall the name of the city. You can find this in USA. These are densely growing evergreen shrubs. Now this is a evergreen shrubs. This is a shrub forest of small trees and scrub like oak. So correct answer about this question is option number B. So this was all about today's lecture. Hope you find this lecture helpful, and if you find this lecture helpful, do subscribe and do share your opinion in comment box, and do let me know your response, right? So take care, goodbye.